Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Ask Engineer, the longest running live engineering and electronics show in the known universe. It's me, Lady Ada. With me is Phil. So it's Mr. Lady Ada on camera control and interesting commentary. Is that commentary?
Sometimes. Sometimes not.
He's the brains of the operation. But we are here broadcasting live from the downtown Manhattan office where we do all of our manufacturing, kitting and shipping and testing and videoing and coding. That's right. It's Adafruit behind us. It's Adafruit in front of us. And it's Adafruit for the next hour as we go through what is up in the maker, engineer, hacking community. News, new products, videos, secrets, and more. Yeah. Why don't we kick it off? You want ready to kick it off?
Yeah, there's a lot going on tonight. On tonight's show, the code is truffle. 10% off an Adafruit store all the way up to 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time-ish, or whenever I remember to do it.
Want to try this?
Look at that,
Ooh.
look at that,
Oh,
look at that. Okay, it's part of, some live shows that we do. We're going to talk about all the things that we do during the week and more, including our show and tell. Time travel, look around the world of makers, hackers, artists, engineers, things that are going on in the world. Jobs, very special job on the jobs board tonight. Made in New York City factory footage, 3D printing at a couple speed ups. Ion MPI brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. New products, top secret. We'll answer your questions. We do that over on Discord, adafruit.it/Discord. Join all 30,000 of us over there. All that and more on, you guessed it,
Bam.
Ask an Engineer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's just go through some stuff real quick. So tonight's theme will be all about
snakes.
This Friday is CircuitPython Day. We'll talk about this in the Python and hardware section. Friday we have a whole lineup of shows. The show and tell was filled with show and tell folks doing CircuitPython
Lots of
projects.
Joyfully.
Yeah, so we have a lot of stuff going on in the world of CircuitPython, and
this is our fourth CircuitPython. This is your 4, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Let's do. And we're doing a lot of virtual events, of course, because it's time to talk about COVID again.
Oh, yay. Oh, we're done with this, right?
We're done with this, but it's not done with us.
Yeah.
So during the last year plus, we've been giving everyone updates on what's going on with Adafruit, with New York City, because New York City got hit first and really bad in March and April of last year. So here's where we're at. A lot of New York City is vaccinated, and the infection rate is low starting next week. New York City is not going to count the infection rate as one of the metrics. It's hospitalization, vaccination, and I think deaths. The ways that things are changing in our city that's very fast is basically Shake Shack runs New York City policy right now. And I'll just tell you why.
Health policy is set by some tasty-ass burgers.
Yeah, and
they're tasty burgers.
And I'll tell you why. So the city and state, they want businesses to say vaccination, proof of vaccination for everyone, including the people coming into your restaurants or whatever, venues, entertainment, Broadway. So last week, Shake Shack announced, hey, this is what we're doing for our staff and the customers, vaccination. And they're even moving away from talking about weekly testing. Masking is now, the signs are back everywhere, but the sole focus is vaccination. So we're not a tiny company and we're not a big company. We're right in the middle. We're waiting for guidance. Almost everyone, if not everyone by now, is vaccinated at Adafruit. But, and I'll just tell you from being on the ground, yesterday we had our first breakthrough positivity. Person's fine. They weren't feeling that great. Testing is everywhere, still in New York, and they're like, well, may as well, and positive. So they're isolating, they're fine. Anyone that was around them, luckily, this just happened to work out that they weren't. Everyone's okay so far, but we all know what's coming. And then people that we know outside of Adafruit, but in the New York area, they're reporting that, oh yeah, like I was feeling fine, but I just got a test because I just had like a little bit of a cough, and it's folks that have been vaccinated, but it's very mild. And that's kind of what vaccines can do, is just lower the severity, chance of going to the hospital or dying. And we're seeing that already. So in case you're wondering what's happening, you can get your news from all sorts of places, and a lot of people do. This is what's happening right now. So I think that's going to be commonplace. We have a very specific bit of protocols that we do when anyone is symptomatic or if they test positive. And now we're in you've been vaccinated and you've tested positive, or you're vaccinated and you're test negative, and you're still having some symptoms. Some people end up, they're like, yeah, turns out I had strep throat, and there's a test for that, and never has folks been so happy
people now
to get
are
strep.
like,
Yay, strep throat.
No, I mean, people are actually
So-
going and getting other diseases because they're hanging out without masks in
Yeah.
public. I mean, like they're doing all the things that you do to get the diseases that we always get.
So
Colds and flus and
So we'll see.
streps.
And one of the things, and this is just us as an employer looking at this, seems like one of the, you never know what timeline we're in. It seems like this timeline that we're in is COVID will eventually evolve to an annoyance because of vaccinations, immunity, and a combination of things. But it looks like every time this virus mutates, it's not getting weaker. It seems to be getting stronger and more transmissible. So anyways, that's just us on the ground here in New York City with a workforce of like 100 plus people. And if you haven't got vaccinated, please consider it, because we're seeing it get all the way through. Folks have been vaccinated, and we really hope everyone sticks around. Talk to your doctor. I think that's going to be what I say from now on, because the folks that are like, I don't know if I'm going to get vaccinated yet, apparently if their doctor tells them and their doctor works with them if they have any issues, that is what gets it. Not shaming, not incentives, actually just talking to their doctor, or being told you can't travel or go to
Yeah.
concerts. That one works too.
Yeah, if you're going to trust this guy to cut open your spleen, you trust them to tell you whether a vaccine is a good idea.
So anyways, that's what's going on here, and we'll continue to give you all updates. We're still shipping. Everything's fine. We're all wearing masks. We've never stopped doing that. So we're safe, but this is happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so code is truffle. The reason is we watched Pig last night with Nicolas Cage, and I'm still thinking about it. So that's the.
I want to know what happened to the baguette. I am traumatized
Where's my
by
pig?
the baguette, which went missing.
Where's my pig? Okay, so in addition to 10%, you get free stuff. What did they get,
Yep.
Lady Ada?
$99 or more, you get a free Permaproto half-size breadboard, a PCB for taking your projects and making them permanent. $149 or more, you get a free STEMMA QT board, one of a variety of boards that are available, whatever we have in stock. You'll get a random one, or if you have an account, we'll make sure you get a different one each time. $199 or more, you get free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States. $299, you get a free Circuit Playground Express, our all-in-one dev board that has LEDs and buttons and sensors, perfect for use with Arduino, CircuitPython, Code.org, CS Discoveries, and MakeCode, as well as other development platforms.
Okay, we have a whole bunch of live shows. We just got off air doing our CircuitPython show and tell day. Please watch it, and also special thanks to Mark, who was in chat and offered to give show and tell badges to folks. Just like oh, let's go to this.
Pew.
This is what they look
You
like.
want to go to the overhead?
Yeah, look at that.
Bam. Do you want me to light it up?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
I mean maybe.
Okay, well, maybe later. Here you go. Focus lock.
Okay,
Okay. Nice.
cool.
Okay.
So, anywho, we do a show on Sundays called Desk of Lady Ada. This week, Lady Ada talked about.
I took this RGB LED matrix breakout, and first off, I ordered the PCBs finally. I got off my butt and did that, and I got to tester made, and then I'm making LED glasses because I've always wanted to have my own pair of LED glasses, so I'm breaking apart that matrix into glasses shape. And then we also talked about a really weird thing which we'll cover later about chip pricing. We'll talk about in the open source hardware section of the show.
All right, and then this is the great search portion.
For the Great Search, I just showed how to find 9DOF IMUs and some things to look for when purchasing IMUs if you want to use them for orientation.
Okay. JP's product pick of the week was this week. JP did an amazing AdaBox unboxing last week. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
It was so cool.
On our, you can check it out on the AdaBox page or on any of our social medias and more. Here is a product pick of the week this week.
The NeoKey 5x6 Ortho Snap Apart. I have some simple demo code running right now, which just lights up keys when I press them. I wanted to have some non-one unit standard spacing. So these are actually 2-unit spacing. So in order to do that, you can see I've done a little bit of soldering here where I am running power where it's needed, ground where it's needed. I run the row pin horizontally and I run the column pin vertically. That allows it to still treat it as a matrix. This one's actually acting as a number pad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a delete. This is numpad slash star plus, this is a enter key or equal. Here you can see we are still able to light up the NeoPixels. The Ortho 5x6 NeoKey Snap Apart PCB.
And tomorrow's JP's workshop, you'll see his segment on CircuitPython, including CircuitPython Parsec, so tune into that. Also, Friday, tune into Scott's show, which is Deep Dive with Scott, and it'll be all about CircuitPython, of course.
CircuitPython.
And Scott will be participating in a couple other things, and I'm going to get to that when we do our CircuitPython and Python on Hardware segment.
Okay. Now it's time for time travel.
It is time for time travel. Phil B has a very, I like his videos a lot, and he's like, I'm usually doing 3 things: eating pizza, sleeping, or working on LED eyes. And so,
yes.
So check it out.
Yes, that's true, and that's not a bad life.
It's a good life. I would like, yeah, I would like to have that life. Okay, so here it is. Take it away, Phil B.
I've got 3 modes. I'm either sleeping, eating pizza, or working on LCD eye projects. I like having a lens. It gives it a bit of depth. It's not just a flat screen. And I've tried a lot of different lenses. I have acrylic, I have glass ones, I have a whole bag of strange lenses. A problem with all of them is that the image goes away when it's viewed off angle. So I had this idea one day. There's this mineral called eulexite, and it's like a fiber optic from nature. Anything behind is projected to the front. Sometimes you can buy polished spheres of eulexite. They're not cheap, about $50, but hey, science! And I took a whole day, took the train into San Francisco and went to the James Bong building to a gemologist to cut the sphere in half. That was another $50. So it's interesting, it does project the eye image to the front, but I learned that the off-angle performance is even worse than the regular lenses. So that was a $100 mistake. But I learned some things, and now you don't have to waste $100 making the same mistake.
All right, that was cool.
I feel so sad.
Yeah. He's like, and then I went to the train, and then a puddle splashed on me.
But you know what? I think this is important because a lot of people, and we'll talk about this a segment we're doing soon, is that a lot of people don't show their mistakes. They're afraid of talking about their mistakes.
We have a whole new segment that we're starting next week, I think, called "Mistakes Were Made, Lessons Are Learned," and that is the way to move forward, because we're surrounded by computers, and computers are made to make billions of mistakes a second. We have to show
we're so good at making mistakes.
We have to show that the computers aren't going to beat us. We're going to make mistakes too, and so I think that's just one of the things that we do different. Is we're willing to show the work. The other thing we do is we'll go through that entire thing so you don't have to.
Yeah.
All right, so next up, AdaBox. We pretty much sold out of all of them. However, you can sign up for the next one. It'll be AdaBox 20, shipping October. There's such a big part shortage and everything else. This is the closest thing you can get to a back order. Whatever is the coolest, interesting thing that we're doing at Adafruit, probably around October, it's going to be the AdaBox. You may as well get it, adabox.com. And then it'll be the holidays, and we'll probably run out before the holidays. So you can even give it as a gift now. Get in before it's too late.
That's right.
That's my AdaBox spiel. All right. Every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, we have a Collins Lab note, and this week is no exception. So I'm going to just play a couple of the latest ones. You can check them out, and then I'll see you on the other side.
The LED definitely delivers the photons, no doubt. But many are unaware of the LED's ability to detect light as well. Truth. Most light-emitting diodes can also play the role of photodiode. Specifically, a photodiode which responds to the same color light it emits as an LED, sort of satisfying symmetry. It's less sensitive compared to an actual purpose-built photodiode, but will still pass enough current to be detected by a microcontroller pin. This water-clear LED normally emits red. Since the white light from my phone here includes the red spectrum, I can use it to trigger the LED's photosensitivity, which is in turn detected by the microcontroller. In fact, it's possible to connect 2 LEDs in a loop, and by exposing one of them to light, produce just enough current to power the other. It's like poetry. When a microcontroller's input pin is not connected to any electrical signal, it's said to be floating. It sounds peaceful, but a floating pin can appear in a different random high or low state whenever it's read by a microcontroller. Now consider connecting a normally open switch to that floating pin. Without a known default state for the pin, we'd have no way to tell if the switch was definitely pressed or not. That's where pull-up resistors come into play. By connecting a 10k ohm resistor between the input pin and positive voltage, we effectively give the pin a default high state. When the switch is pressed, it creates a connection from pin to ground with almost zero resistance, much lower than the pull-up's 10k connection to positive voltage. When the chip reads the pin, that path of least resistance determines its new low state.
Jobs. Jobs.adafruit.com is where you can post your skills, or if you're a company looking for someone to join your team, it's one of the best places because we screen all the jobs, make sure they're not like spam or weird. And then we also reach out to partners and companies and friends where we're like, hey, don't forget, we have this job board if you're looking for someone. And this one is probably one that a lot of people are going to apply for. Seeking an influencer and content creator rock star. Where? DigiKey. Might be remote. You're going to check it out and definitely talk to them. I can tell you all the folks that we work with at DigiKey are amazing. They're a really good company. And whoever gets this job, you're going to have a lot of fun.
Yes.
So check it out.
A lot of makers should apply because
Yeah.
you're probably doing projects that they'd like to
Yeah.
see. Hi.
And one of the things on the job description is you use Adafruit stuff. So if you use Adafruit stuff, this might be something for you.
Apply.
Okay.
It's free.
It's Python and hardware time.
Okay.
Okay, all this week, we have stuff going on with CircuitPython Day. Friday's the big day. Today was our show and tell. So here's what is going on. On Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Foamy Guy is going to stream all about CircuitPython. You can watch it on YouTube and Twitch. 1 p.m. Eastern, there's an Reddit Ask Me Anything, an AMA with the Python, with the developers of CircuitPython and MicroPython. r/Python is where it's at, so that's one of the bigger Reddits.
Oh, great.
At 1 p.m., Jeff, Dan, and Kattni discuss CircuitPython. 3 p.m., Lady 8 is going to do a board tour. 5 p.m., Scott's going to be doing a deep dive, and we have a bunch of other stuff going on. Do the hashtag CircuitPython Day 2021. There's discounts for books, 10 games Circuit Playground Express. That was 99 cents. Now it'll be more later. And then we just finished up the special edition. The other thing that we have is this neat little video trailer. So I wanted to play that, and we'll see you on the other side. It's all about CircuitPython Day
Yay.
and CircuitPython.
Hey folks, CircuitPython Day is August 6th, 2021, and it's the snakiest day of the year. This day highlights all things CircuitPython and Python on hardware. Tag your projects on social media to have them showcased on CircuitPython Day. CircuitPython is an easy-to-use programming language for microcontrollers. You can install CircuitPython on a lot of different boards from Adafruit and the community. The libraries and code live on the board, so it's way more accessible. The board shows up like a USB drive, so you can just drag and drop a UF2 file. It automatically installs the firmware, so it's really easy to upgrade to future releases. This makes iteration much faster, so you don't have to compile your code like in Arduino. It works like a USB storage device, so you can drag and drop files right on the drive. Bundlefly will grab all of the code and libraries, but also any project files like fonts and images. All of the files are bundled in a single zip, so you'll have everything you need to run the code. We think this makes maintaining code much better, and it's just awesome for beginners. For all things CircuitPython related, check out the links in the awesome list. You can listen to podcasts, chat on the Discord server, and subscribe to the newsletter. So go to circuitpython.org and get your projects up and running.
Okay, so that's CircuitPython Day coming up. Thank you, Noah and Pedro, who made that cool video. And we'll see everybody Friday. Full day of CircuitPython stuff all day long. And
I'll be
like
around.
I said, we're doing virtual events this year. Hopefully we'll have in-person events again next year.
Yay, maybe.
And that's Python on hardware. Okay, we're an open source hardware company, and before we get into some open source hardware news, I want to talk about some hardware news. You noticed something.
Yes.
And it was part part shortage related thing, which a lot of folks have been commenting. They're like, thanks for talking about this because I can't find out anything anywhere and no one's just talking
There's
about
no
stuff.
information.
There's no information.
At
So
all.
so we have a blog post about this, and I'm going to pop over to our
Yeah, I'm gonna wait for you to.
our blog. And the title of this blog post was "Large Price Increases for
Did you wanna
Silicon
share it?
Chips." Yeah, from official distributors. That's the
Okay.
title of it. Here it is.
Okay, there you go.
Because it's a little small.
No, it's
okay.
fine.
And so the thing that you noticed was what?
So this is interesting because I've seen, I've definitely seen lots of people talk about how if you can't buy a part from an official distributor, you can go to like gray market distributors or like secondary market, and you can sometimes get parts, but the prices are really inflated. Usually the prices historically from secondary markets have been cheaper, right? Because it's a secondary market. But because of the part shortages now, secondary markets are now like charging like exorbitant prices. Chips that would be $1, they're asking $5, and like somebody maybe is that desperate and they'll give them the money. So they're kind of like taking advantage of the situation. And that's something you expect, right? If you have secondary markets, one of the benefits for them is if there is a shortage, they can take advantage of it. But what I saw for the first time ever, I've never seen this happen to me before in my life, is a back order from an official distribution changed prices from about $3 to $15 or $20. I basically multiply the price by like 5 to 10 times for an existing back order that had been booked months before. And the reason I think this is important for people to know about is that if you're an engineer and you're doing back orders, you're doing board specifications, you want to make sure that you don't set the price before you get the parts in hand. Historically, if you booked something at a price $3 or $4, you'd get it at $3 or $4. That's no longer true. Even booking an order and like putting down your credit card does not necessarily mean you're going to get the parts at the price that you booked it at. The price could change underneath you. So it's a new thing. It's a weird thing. I feel like there's going to be a lot of people who get bit because they spec'd out their bill of materials and their price.
If you have a Kickstarter, you probably can't do it. If you're someone who has a $20 board and your part initially was like $3 or less, and now it's $20, your board is not going to be $20. You
Yeah.
can't do it. So there's a lot of boards that we saw out there.
So don't design your PCBs assuming, basically until you get the parts in hand, nothing is assumed.
Yeah, so that's what's going on right now. Beware. Okay.
Okay. Next
Next up, other open source hardware news. The State of Open Source Hardware report came out, state of oshw.oshwa.org. And the cool thing, well, at least the cool thing I thought that was in this, is you could see 2020 was a
Year
big
of
year.
registrations.
Was a big year. And that was us, our fault. And then we, I think, helped encourage others. And we're in the number one spot, not going to be there forever, or maybe. And then SparkFun, then WaterRot, and then you can watch
Olmax
the
and
rest of it.
Field
It
Ready, yeah.
long tails out.
Well, spots there's nice.
Yeah, and so special thanks, Dylan, who worked on all of these certifications. But the full report's there, has a lot of amazing insights. Who's doing it, why they're doing it. And this wasn't in the report, but I'm going to say this. I think it is so cool that the top open source hardware company is a woman-owned business. That just means that ceiling, that got broken.
Yeah.
And so it's not a male-dominated industry or, that market. And then, like, eventually you're kind of like, okay, now there's, like, some diversity in it. This is starting out with that. So that's cool. Good work, you.
Yay.
Anyways, that was the report.
work, us.
But everyone should check out that report. Okay. The other way that we're an open source hardware company, and we prove it, is 2,519 guides. Lady Ada, there's a bunch this week.
Okay. Well, if you want to.
We're going to start with this.
Let's
So
take
these two are the two.
Can you make this a little bit larger?
Yeah, those are the two that we didn't get to last week, so you can start
Okay.
with those.
So you've got the Cat Unit guide for the Ortho Snap Apart. So you want CircuitPython or Arduino code to show you how to put together that and wire it up to a microcontroller. Phil B did a cool guide on how to make your own VQ GANs if you've never done this before. It's not hard. You can use Google Colab. You don't even have to install any software. You can do it all through the web. But it has some tips and hints and some cool art that he made with it. There's the MacroPad Braille keycaps, either all-in-one print or just top prints for making Braille keycaps, which I thought was cool because you could do accessibility projects. We have a guide on how to capture camera images from parallel cameras in CircuitPython. We have support for the RP2040, ESP32S2, and 7051 for camera capture. And so we're starting to add all sorts of capabilities based on that.
Yeah, and then we have
We've also got some updates to the MacroPad RP2040 guide. Kattni wrote a guide on using the library for it. Of course, we had the AdaBox 19 unboxing guide. Thanks to JP for doing the unboxing last week. Liz Clark published NeoKey emoji keyboard. So it's a little 4-key keyboard with a cutie pie that types in her favorite synthesizer and cat-based emojis. The Olympics are going on, and if you want a MacroPad to hotkey get you to your favorite events, this MacroPad overlay works with like the previous guides that have done MacroPad overlays to specifically be for Olympics viewing. It'll take you to the right web page and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm just going to play a few seconds of this video to show you what it is, because I was watching the Olympics and I'm like, boy, this would be handy. So
You can select all
go
the
to
different
pages,
events. So if you're like sailing or rugby or climbing or volleyball, and then it'll take you to their webpage.
yeah. And then some of the times you can even, watch some of the stuff right there. All right, next up, more guides.
Okay, we've also got a quickie guide on using Web NFC by Ann. This is kind of neat because we've had Web Serial, we have Web Bluetooth, and now we have and Web MIDI, and now Web NFC. So yeah, everything is becoming web.
Nice.
It works in Android. JP did a Minecraft MacroPad overlay. One of his kids still uses Minecraft, and here are some useful macros that you can use to automate things, or just to kind of like quickly get into modes without doing like slash typing long strings. And then we've also got some more camera projects. So this is a webcam, which you can use to grab images and then upload them to Adafruit IO. So it's kind of like a webcam. It's a very slow webcam, but it's all in CircuitPython, grabbing camera images and then uploading them to the internet. And then drag and drop is our MacroPad project, which doesn't use HID. It's a game that's played on the OLED, and it uses like a rotation mode. So I think Phil B just wanted to show, hey, you don't have to use it in like the portrait mode. You can use landscape mode, and also you don't have to use it for keyboards. It's a pretty handy all-in-one system that has an
Drag and
OLED.
drop's a good name.
Drag and drop?
Yeah,
It's drag and drop.
It's a good name.
Yeah.
All right, so
lots of guides, 2 weeks of
yeah,
guides.
and I'm just going to show a couple seconds of each video. This is the Minecraft one, then I'll show the NFC. So you can see how helpful this is when you're Minecrafting. And then here's the NFC one. Okay, time for some New York City factory footage. Take it away, Adafruit Factory. All right, and then we have some manufacturing in progress photos, things that we're making here. Adafruit, you can try to guess what they are. Some mistakes were made, some lessons were learned. And it wouldn't be New York City factory footage without,
More floors.
behold, so Disney has all these new offerings like Galaxy Cruise
Yeah.
and like Lightsaber Pass or something, and it's
Yeah.
like $1,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
And
to pay for this building.
they're using that money to build this building across the street from us.
Yeah.
Okay. 3D printing. No, I'm Pedro printing up a storm. This week, I'm Pedro off. And so we have 2 speed ups that they sent us ahead of time, and we're going to play those back to back, and then we'll see you on the other side. And don't forget, every Wednesday, well, at least next week, 3D Hangouts with Noah and Pedro. Check it out. Okay, later, it's time for...
That's right.
Here we go.
on MPI.
This week's INMPI, long time coming. We've been waiting to do this one. It's from Digilent, and I just also want to mention, special thanks DigiKey.
Two double digis, a Digilent plus DigiKey. Not related.
DigiKey and
but they're good
Digilent.
friends.
Yeah. What is this week's INMPI, Lady Ada?
Okay, so this week's INMPI, we actually, a year ago, we did the Digilent Digital Discovery Kit, and it also stocked the Analog Discovery Kit, which is a little like USB, oscilloscope, logic analyzer type thing. And so this week there's a new product from Digilent that is kind of like, if you like the Analog Discovery Kit, this is the kind of the next generation. This is the Pro Analog Discovery Kit. It is the Analog Discovery Pro ADP 3450, and I think 3250 is the other part number. And this is kind of like very similar circuitry to the Analog Discovery Pro, but it's kind of more ruggedized. It's in a nice case, and it's got a couple of cool things going for it, which we'll talk about. So to start off with, this is a 2 or 4 channel oscilloscope and logic analyzer. Here's just one side of it, and I'll show the whole all the different sides. It's in a kind of like a pizza box case, and this is the back of it. And you can see some interesting stuff. There's 4 USB ports, there's Ethernet, there's the device USB, there's power 19 volts, there's 2 trigger inputs, there's a power port, and then actually, I just realized that photo doesn't have the front. So let's go quickly to the overhead, and I will show off the front of it because I think it's worth showing early. So this is me taking it apart. So there's a logic analyzer and waveform generator here. You can sort of see there's 2 by 16 pins. And then this is the 4 channels. This is 4 analog inputs. And what's really neat about the oscilloscope inputs is that we actually have B&C jacks, so you could put probes on it. And then this is the wave gen out. This is a dual DAC output, 14-bit, 125 megasamples per second. Okay, so let's go back to this. Okay, so next one. So I can't see the text, but maybe you can, because there's a lot of specs and I wanted to get them all in here. But basically, you've got 2 or 4 channels, 55 megahertz bandwidth, There's oversampling that you can get about 400 megasamples per second, if not oversampling. For non-repetitive, you have 100 megasamples per second, plus or minus 25 volts, 50 volt protected input, 128 megasample record mode. You got analog outputs, digital inputs, advanced triggering. So it's kind of all this stuff. It's like a little bit of like a bento box. You get a little bit of everything here in the Analog Discovery. So even though it's called the Analog Discovery, it does do digital stuff as well. So this is a USB connected device. Chances are, a lot of people, they're going to connect this to their computer. It doesn't have an LCD and it doesn't have any knobs on it. If you want to do the control part, you download the Waveforms software, you install it, and then you can see it can run on Raspberry Pi, Mac, Linux, and Windows. And then when you run it, you can do the kind of USB oscilloscope stuff that you would think of, capturing data logging, analysis. You can, of course, run scripts on it. As we've covered, Waveform has a scripting language that lets you, automate the inputs and outputs and kind of like put pieces together to create, data acquisition that's more advanced than most USB oscilloscopes, because again, it's got all that extra stuff, the inputs and the outputs. But Waveforms is kind of like, they've been working on this for a few years. This is very solid software, and I liked how responsive it was. The graphics drawing was very fast, which I can't show you here because it's still, but if you're using it, and I think there's even a simulation mode, it's pretty easy, and there's a lot of widgets. So the thing that is, I think, interesting to think about is, yes, this, it is a pretty good oscilloscope, but compared to like a benchtop scope, it's not going to be as good, right? Even my old tech TDS scope from like 15 years ago had 1 gigasample per second. So, the question is like, why pick up something like this, right? Something that is not that powerful as a benchtop scope, doesn't have an LCD, doesn't have a TFT, doesn't have the knobs and buttons. And I think, as I was using this, I kind of realized that there's two reasons to use an oscilloscope, right? There's the debugging, where you're analyzing a circuit and you're trying to figure out, like, why is my I2C not working? Why is my crystal not the right frequency? Whatever, you're trying to do analysis of a circuit. Why is my power supply, jittering? What's the frequency? What does this waveform look like? So it's the kind of analysis look. And then what this is good for, and you can absolutely use it for that, but what this is really good for is if you're working in a lab, and National Instruments is the wholly owned Digilent, and they're famous for LabVIEW, which is if you're an engineer or like a mechie or a chemist or a biologist or a physicist, you're using this for data capture and analysis in academia and in industry. And so what I actually think the Analog Discovery Pro and the Analog Discovery and Digital Discovery are really good for is, I remember when I was at MIT and I had even like people who were EEs, they were like, I really just want to quickly get data in. I have to do very fast data capture for my physics experiment. And they were like fighting with all these data acquisition tools, and they're like, Arduino isn't fast enough, and this isn't good enough, and that doesn't have good enough precision. You want something that's like an oscilloscope, but something you can script and you can use within LabVIEW. So I think that this is kind of the sweet spot for this product. Yes, it can be used as a general purpose tool, but it's kind of big. It's not pocketable like the Analog Discovery. This is a benchtop tool. This would be good for benchtop data analysis, data capture, testing. If you're doing testing and analysis of a product, and I've seen people who have the product, they're going to put it into market. They want to do a lot of testing on it. This would be able to do like current capture and waveform output and testing the digital side and the analog side all at one, and it's scriptable. Again, with LabVIEW, it's going to have first-class support, and if you're used to LabVIEW, this is a great partner hardware for it. There's another thing that I thought was really interesting. So this is, anytime you see something with 4 USB ports and Ethernet, you're like, that's not a microcontroller, that's running like embedded Linux, right? Because your microcontroller is not going to be able to do USB host. It's very hard. And in fact, it is running embedded Linux. It's got an ARM core inside of it. And so what's interesting about this is that you can get into it and log into it as a Linux computer, and they're like really into that. Like they're like, please log in, and then you can run software on it natively, and so you don't have to worry about the bandwidth issues of trying to stream like very fast data over USB and Ethernet. Yes, USB and Ethernet can do very fast data, but not as fast as like native on-device data capture and saving. And so, you can plug in a USB, USB data stick and do like massive data capture where you just have less layers in between, so you have a higher throughput and lower latency. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Has anyone
too.
run Doom on it yet?
I'm sure they will.
Okay.
Okay, so there's 4 options available. There's the 3250, which is again the 2-channel, the 3450, which is the 4-channel, and then you've got a version with and without USB probes. So, BNC scope probes and all the add-on cables. If you've got your collection of scope probes, which I do, you can go for the cheaper version. If not, get the version with the probes, and you're going to, of course, pay for more channels. It's almost twice as much because that's where the cost is this expensive, let me see, it's the AD948 analog digital converter. That's what the cost is, and also the extra memory and the processing of the FPGA. So pick whichever option. I think we highlighted, this is one which has all the scope probes and the BNCs, and you can see the inputs and outputs. It costs a little bit more, but you're ready to rock. And they've got them all in stock, which is a great reason to have INPI. I love it when things are in stock.
That's right. That's the part number. That's a short URL, and you wanted to play this video.
Yeah, it's a 2-minute long video, but it kind of covers everything. Even talks a little bit of Linux mode.
Okay, let's show it.
Take it away.
Digilent's ADP3450, the first in the Analog Discovery Pro line, takes the capabilities of the Analog Discovery 2 and adds pro-level functionality and performance. The ADP3450 is an all-in-one measurement solution in a compact chassis. It features a 4-channel, 14-bit oscilloscope with over 50 MHz of bandwidth that can sample at up to half a gigasample per second, and has 128 megasample memory depth with BNC inputs for each channel to connect to standard oscilloscope probes. 2 more BNC connectors provide outputs for the 2-channel, 14-bit, 125 megasample per second arbitrary waveform generator. The ADP3450 also offers 16 channels of digital I/O running at 125 megasamples per second, a 2-channel digital power supply that can be programmed between 1.2 and 3.3 volts, and 2 BNC trigger ports. The ADP3450 has integrated USB and Ethernet connectivity for use while connected to a PC in standard mode, but it also offers a Linux mode with the ability to run tests and store data directly on the device. This eliminates the bandwidth and latency bottlenecks inherent to streaming data to a host PC. In both modes, developers can use Digilent's free Waveform software suite to control all the functionality of the ADP3450. In standard mode, Waveforms provides virtual interfaces for each instrument, with the ADP3450 capable of being configured as a digital logic or bus analyzer, spectrum analyzer, network analyzer, and more, in addition to its primary oscilloscope, wavegen, digital I/O, and power supply functions. For Linux mode, engineers can script entire test routines that run directly on the ADP3450 without any host intervention. The ADP3450 provides great value as it comes with all instrument capabilities unlocked and the ability to use them together. It also offers 4 USB ports that can be used to add storage or additional hardware, such as a Wi-Fi adapter. To learn more about the ADP3450 Analog Discovery Pro, visit store.digilentinc.
Powered on NPI.
Okie dokie. We're now going to go and remind everyone that the code is truffle. Where's my truffle pig?
Yeah.
And this will be going on until I remember to turn it off tonight. Truffle. And it's pretty much everyone's favorite time right now, right?
It's time.
It's time. You want to do this?
Yep. New.
All right. Some little bit of breaking news.
What?
Someone just mentioned, hey, we could port Blinka to that scope.
There's no hardware though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea. All right, so let's kick it off. Ready?
Okay.
What's first?
All right. Well, we have previously had RGB NeoPixels, like these ultra high power 3-watt RGB NeoPixels. And some people are like, hey, can you get ones with RGBW? And I was like, yeah. And look at this beautiful video with like the starburst.
Yeah. I'll show the
so
other
we
ones,
have
yeah.
2 versions, one with warm and one with cool white. So it's actually 4 separate elements in the LEDs. Let's look at a close-up of the LED. So you can see like it's RGB and W. There's 4 elements inside. And so you get like true white instead of like color mixed white, which for some people, like they really want that clean look of a warm white or cool white. So yeah, thanks. So you get, I mean, you can see the four diamonds there. Each one is 1 watt. It uses the NeoPixel protocol, but because it is 4 watts, you need a very big 5-volt power supply. Just be aware when you're using these that each one of them can be using up to like an amp or so, half an amp. So each one comes on a chain. It's soldered with wires. Of course, you can remove them and solder anything you like. There's an aluminum-backed PCB, but if you're going to turn these on really bright, you might need more heat sinking. Just be aware. Did I mention this is 4 watts? It's 4 watts. That's a lot of brightness. It's blinding.
Yeah, so this is, just so you, I mean, like,
It's very
you
bright.
can even see them reflecting off me, and this is bright in here, but
Yeah.
check this out. Like,
Yeah, it's super bright. In fact, it's so bright, I think I overheated it a little bit. Hold
Yeah?
on. Let me do a thing. Hold on. I'm doing a thing, Doing a thing, and then this. I will plug it to the end. There you go. Okay. So this is the one with the warm white. So yeah, I mean, these are just like, these are very, very, very bright.
yeah, these are bright.
But what's nice is they're just NeoPixels. They've got some mounting holes on them, and they're pretty easy to use, and this is the aluminum-backed PCB. So don't forget, if you're going to use them with a microcontroller or microcomputer, you can use them with Raspberry Pi and stuff, because we've got NeoPixel support there. But make sure it has NeoPixel support, and make sure that it has RGBW support, because it's got that 4th byte for the white data. Okay, next up, a very adorable
Click, click,
mini
click,
solenoid.
click.
This is so
click.
cute.
This deserves to have its own Pixar movie.
Yeah. This
Solenoids.
It's a little solenoid. I mean, it's a lock solenoid. You know, I think
Yeah.
folks, they like our larger lock solenoid.
This is cool. You can make a little diary that opens up, like with a microcontroller.
Okay.
This is cool.
So let's go to the overhead. So this is it.
That is over here.
So it's normally open, and then when you power it, this opens up. So because most of the time it's not going to be powered, most of the time it's going to be locking, whatever it's keeping you from opening. And then to open it, you know, this pulls in. So this will be, you know, the clearance you've got. You've got a couple millimeters of clearance. This is a 12-volt solenoid, so you have to give it 9, 10, 11, 12 volts. Draws about like 300 to 400 milliamps when it's powered. Unlike the larger solenoid that we have, this part is not rotatable. Like the other one, you could actually open it up and rotate this. This is actually kind of like hard, like it's bolted in a way that you cannot change it. So not a big deal because most people want it in this orientation, but that's that. There's some mounting holes, but it's just a tiny little lock solenoid. Great for making electronically controlled locks.
I like that you could get the tiny hot plate and then this little tiny
Tiny lock.
and then you can watch Timothy Chalamet. Is that the name?
Yeah.
Tiny Horse. Okay.
Okay, this is kind of interesting. So this is a nRF52840 dongle from Raytac, and this is not something that you can plug into your computer to give it Bluetooth Low Energy. Like it doesn't have a native operating system kind of driver to it. Instead, think of it as like a very small microcontroller dev board that is easy to plug into a computer, because inside
It's a Trinky.
it's kind of like a Trinky.
It's a BLE Trinky.
Yeah, this did not.
And I don't have to make a Trinky character for it because this is what it is.
Yeah, so let's go to the overhead and I'll show the.
I wonder what I would make it. Maybe a beluga whale. Beluga.
Okay. So this is. Okay, so I just opened this up. So inside there's the nRF52840 module, and you can see it's soldered in here. There's a couple of components. And then on the back, there's a single button and a single LED, and that's it. Like there's no other hardware to connect to. So what would it be useful for? Well, I think that there are still some situations where you want a standalone Bluetooth microcontroller that you can just plug into USB, or you could power from a USB power pack. For example, I think this could be a USB beacon that, you know, standalone. It's easy to program. You plug it in, you program it with Arduino or CircuitPython, and now it's standalone. I think if there's some situations where you want to communicate with a Bluetooth device, but you don't want to have the native operating system involved, there can be some situations where you can't, you know, it's Windows 7 maybe, or it's a lockdown and you can't install Bluetooth support, but you could connect over USB serial and you could send data back and forth. You could turn this into like some sort of like a Bluetooth automation tool. I don't know exactly what it's perfect for, but I think it's interesting. It's comes like this particular one, even though it's the same part number as the generic version from Nordic. We have this come with the Teeny UF2 bootloader. So just be aware, if you buy this and it's not from Adafruit, it won't have the bootloader, it won't work. We specifically have the bootloader on it. When you press the button, plug it in, the bootloader comes up so you can install CircuitPython or Arduino code on it. And that's not true of the generic module, which comes blank.
I like that you could just pop this on like a big USB battery bank, and it'll just be a beacon forever.
Yeah, it could do. I'm sure there's something that somebody will find useful for this.
Next up, if you finish all your dinner, you get your pudding.
Yeah, so these are pudding keycaps. It's like an add-on kit. You get, I think, like 15 different keycaps. It's not like the alphanumeric keys. It's kind of like the number pad keys. All the extra keys. I thought this would be useful because some people like the look of them, but they don't want the full keycap set. Now, here's the thing about them. As you can see, they do not have the same profile. They're designed for a keyboard that has like a curved profile, and so you'll see like there's R4 and R1 and R2 profiles. And so when you're putting this on your macro pad, just keep in mind that like you kind of want to keep all the same profile one on the same row. It'll look and feel best that way, and if you don't, you can kind of get an uneven keyboard like profile. So you can show on the overhead. Here you can see, maybe I'll turn this off so you can see it clearly. So you see these are tilted, and these all have the same tilt, but these have a different tilt. And if you mix and match different tilts, it'll look weird. So like in this case, I kind of tried to kind of match them up. I still think it's useful. I still think there's a lot of combinations that'll look good. It's just one of those things, like I tried to find these, glow through pudding style keycaps, but without the profile tilt, and that wasn't possible. Like this is kind of what's available. This is all you can get, and I still think they're kind of neat. I think there's a lot of times that you want the word pause or arrow keys or shift or control or function or any of the other keycaps that it comes with. Maybe you're willing to put up with the fact that it isn't a perfectly flat DSA or XDA profile. I still think it's of some use. It's just something to watch out for. You can't mix and match every combination and have it, look great.
Okay, and the star of the show tonight, lady, besides you, our community, our team, and our customers, we have two breakouts.
Yep. 2 RTC breakouts. These are kind of the same. We have breakouts for these RTCs before, but these are now the Stemma QT versions. So we've got 2. We've got this, which is the DS3231, which is a high precision, temperature compensated crystal real-time clock. This is kind of like the finest of the fine. This is like the truffle of RTCs.
See, this is how we tying it together.
High quality RTC over I2C, and on the back there's a coin battery holder. And then if you're like, well, I don't want that, I'm okay with truffle oil, which doesn't actually contain truffles.
Yeah.
The PCF 8523, I think this is a perfectly fine real-time clock. Great for data logging, maybe not for clocks, just because it will lose a few seconds, a second or two a day compared to the DS3231. But for many purposes, the PCF is perfectly fine. Also has the coin battery holder on the back, plug it in over I2C. Now coming with Stemma QT connectors, it just makes it really easy to plug and play these into an existing system because it uses our I2C connections.
You can do this. You can do this.
You can do either one, and it's you can pick and choose, right? You can start with one, and then decide you want higher precision or lower. Switch over to the PCF. Of course, we have Arduino and CircuitPython code for both of these because they're just Stemma QT versions of our existing breakout. These are kind of my 2 favorite RTCs. You've got the high quality and the budget quality. Both are very
budget,
good.
high quality.
That's it.
And that's new products.
New.
Okay, cool. I have some questions lined up.
Okay, great.
Go put them on Discord while we do some top secret. We'll be over there in just a second to answer them.
Okay.
Top secret from the vault. Secret stuff. You're never not gonna know. We're not gonna ever tell you. Yeah, we are. Just don't ask any questions. Okay. This is top secret this week. What is this, Lady Ada?
Okay. So I'm redesigning the Matrix portal to run the ESP32S2 because I can't get SAMD51s, and this is what it looks like.
Okay.
This is that RGB matrix breakout with the IS31FL3741. So it's a lot of RGB LEDs.
And then
I sent that out.
this is from last week.
And then, this is our first iSpy board. It's a board for a TFT display. These are it's a round rect TFT. It's our first rounded rectangle display. We haven't actually even had circular ones, so this is interesting. It's not like it remaps the pixels, it just cuts them off, right? So the corner pixels are just they're not there, they're missing. But it's a kind of a pretty display. I like the rounded rectangle, very Apple-y.
Okay. And that's top secret for the week.
Yep. Get back in the vault.
All right, we're loading up the questions. I have some ready to go, and then some folks are putting some in the Discord chat. Here we go.
Yes.
Lady Ada, you ready?
Yes.
The first one is question for Lady Ada. The Cutie Pie RP2040, you have the boot cell button connected to the GPIO for additional functionality, and I see that you pass the QSPI_CS signal through a diode. If I wasn't using boot cell as a user button in CircuitPython, would the diode be necessary? I tend to think not, but maybe I'm wrong.
The diode is there so you can use it as a GPIO with less risk because you don't have the interfering signal.
Alrighty. Next up, let me line up this one. About how long do you think the chip shortage and/or chip price increases are going to last?
Through mid-2023.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
I think so. Probably 2023 is when, early mid is when it's going to end.
How long do you think this COVID pandemic is going to last? Same time?
Probably at the same time.
Yeah, maybe there's correlation with that.
It could
Who
be.
knows? Okay. Next up. When boards like the ESP32S2 first come out and they are in beta and still not fully stable, is there a set period of time you have for watching a project for stability, hours, days? How do you know when it's time to say, well, this is not really beta, this is
I'll say Espressif is a very particular case. They like to release hardware very early before the firmware is wrapped up. It usually takes about 6 months to get the firmware in a good state. In fact, the ESP32S2 is now, I think it's a year old, and they're still only now releasing 2.00 as a release, not just as a beta. So it's been in beta for a year.
Okay. Yeah. And I think for us, we'll do a short run of boards and we're like, hey, this is for a new chip. And then we'll see what comes up via GitHub with issues or customer support or when we're actually using it for projects. It's one of the reasons we make a lot of guides.
Yeah.
Because we kind of find out all the things that that folks will have to find out if we don't.
You don't know what you don't know until you
Yeah.
actually try it.
Okay. Next up, is it possible or even remotely feasible to make a joystick that is connectable using a stemma connector?
The joystick itself, no, because joysticks are, they're mechanical. But you could connect it up to a stemma ADC and then read the data over ADC, and that's how you'd read a joystick.
Okay. And I talked about this earlier. Someone mentioned, could you run Blinka on this?
I don't know. I don't know how much documentation they have for the chip, and again, there's no hardware, accessible. I'm sure it's all binary blobs. So it's sort of could you run Doom on it? It's like you could, but there's no screen. So what are you doing? It doesn't make a ton of sense.
Okay, let me go to the chats right now. In another chat, folks want to know the discount code. Discount code is Truffle.
Truffle.
Let me make sure you know it's Truffle.
Truffle.
10% off anything that's in stock right now, all the way up to probably 11:59 p.m.
You have to use the button.
Yeah, I can use the button. I just want to make sure. So in the future, what I'll do is I'll
Beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop. Yeah, much faster.
Not faster?
Much faster.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Okay. It's a little scary.
A little scary. Okay.
Okay.
And let's see if there's any other questions before I bounce off to. No. We got through it.
Okay.
Those are the questions.
Whew.
All right, everybody. That is our show
Happy CircuitPython
for
week.
tonight.
Don't forget to tune in on Friday.
Yep.
We got streams, videos, and more.
Yeah. That's everything. Special thanks to Jessie May, who's running things behind the
Thanks,
scenes.
Jessie May.
Thanks, Jessie May. Special thanks to our entire team who've been keeping it together. I know that we're in yet another round of challenges to get through. But we'll do it because we did it before. We'll do it again. So thank you everyone for keeping it together. Thank you all the customers that keep ordering stuff. This is where we show everything we do every single week, and we all have a choice of where we buy stuff from, especially in the world of electronics. So if you like seeing something like this, please consider. Let's see. Person that said, did you answer my question from the start? Yeah. Skur, I think you were asking about the RP 2040 thing. Just hit rewind on that. We did. We're very thankful that we're able to take care of our team and get you all good products.
We're gonna get through this because
Yeah.
we're New Yorkers and
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
did
we're just
jury
gonna-
duty. So
we're just
now we're stuck here.
I don't know how to do anything else. So I'm just going to keep doing this.
All right, cool.
So thank you, everybody. We'll see everybody next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Here is your moment of Zener.